get to this mess?
It's easy to blame the United States, and we haven't done everything right. But you start off with a region that, as long as I've been involved since 1974, is in one or another state of crisis. What's new is, in the past few years, basically since the rise of al-Qaeda, the situation has gotten worse, and the recipes that we have tried to use to stem the violence and to stem the destabilization, the basic challenge to the nation states in the region by one or another Islamic religious movement, be it the Iranians, be it ISIS and al-Qaeda, have not been successful. And now we're at a crisis point.
Yep. All right. Former ambassador to Iraq there. Joining us now is James Taranto, columnist at the Wall Street Journal, editor of OpinionJournal.com. James, welcome aboard.
Steve, good to be here.
You know, it's like you could close your eyes and put your finger in the phone book, but this book would be called Obama, and you land on something that is just so outrageous every time but in this case, we're talking about the administration's insistence, even after we turned tail and ran, our special ops forces had to leave Yemen, their insistence that Yemen is still a model for how we should combat terrorism.
Yeah, last September, in a speech, the president mentioned Yemen along with Somalia as examples of the administration's counterterrorism success stories. And at the time, there was some reasonable basis to say that. But obviously, things have gone all to hell in Yemen since then. The president was forced to leave, then the replacement president was forced to leave, and now there's a full-fledged war going on with the Saudis leading an Arab coalition against the Iranian-backed militants, and our guys are all gone, and the administration continues insisting that it's a success when being pressed by people like Jonathan Karl, the ABC News White House correspondent. And you remember they used to say President Bush was stubborn? I suppose he was, but nothing like this.
No, nothing like this. I mean, because when they asked the State Department also about, was it a mistake to do the trade for Bergdahl, they said absolutely not. This was after he was charged with desertion.
Yeah, well, the problem with the Bergdahl trade was not so much that Bergdahl wasn't necessarily a good guy, but it was they gave up 5 Taliban leaders. It was much too high a price to pay. They should have, the fact that he's charged with desertion doesn't mean we shouldn't have tried to get him home. But for the Obama administration, releasing the enemies, these dangerous enemies who will be back on the battlefield inside a year, was a plus to this because he has this ideological commitment of closing down Guantanamo.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me ask you a question. I don't know what Trey Gowdy, he knew about this email deal for months, and then finally we found out about it. On Friday, I guess I don't know what he did, released a statement from his bathroom or something and told us Friday night when we were all home that Hillary wiped the server clean. Why didn't he make a bigger deal? Why didn't he hold a press conference? Why didn't he show his face and express outrage and have other leaders with him?
I think this was a Friday night news dump by Mrs. Clinton. Her lawyer, according to Gowdy, got back to them on Friday and basically said, "Sorry, we've erased the server. No dice. Go back to the State Department."
Yeah, we're having a little trouble. We think we lost you there for a second after you said the lawyer said, "Sorry, we erased the server." You want to pick it up from there, James?
Yeah, so this was, I don't think it was Gowdy, I don't think the timing was Gowdy's fault. I think the timing was deliberate on the part of Mrs. Clinton's lawyer. They wanted this buried on Friday, and Gowdy probably just figured it would get out anyway, so he might as well get it out as soon as he could.
Oh, well, then you know what? Then he should have held a press conference today as a follow-up, and there should have been something. I mean, as it stands, it's nobody's talking about it. You should force them to talk about it. But is she going to get away with this? I mean, is she going to actually be the Democratic nominee and possibly the President of the United States after pulling this?
Well, Steve, only time will tell. But what I find kind of fascinating is the story that came out also on Friday. This was a joint venture between ProPublica and Gawker.
The Sidney Blumenthal story, the shadow government. Yeah.
Right. Basically, it turns out that Mrs. Clinton seems to have been running. It's not clear how actively she was involved in this or how actively she used this, but Blumenthal was running a sort of intelligence operation, feeding information to Mrs. Clinton about Libya before Benghazi and after she left the State Department. Sidney Blumenthal, now you may wonder why wasn't he just working at the State Department? Well, the reason was Mrs. Clinton wanted to hire him, and the White House put the kibosh on that because Blumenthal had sent around emails during the 2008 primary passing along stories viciously attacking President Obama, including stories from various conservative publications and websites.
You know, James, I think it's her first, and we're out of time, but it's a great point. And I think if Hillary does become president, her first act might be to send Sandy Berger back into the National Archives. James, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
All right, Michael Hayden, former CIA and NSA director, is next. Don't go away.